Welcome to the channel. I'm Nero. Thanks for being here. Going to take a look at SSTLDB's Soviet Japan list from last month's OCC. I call it Soviet Japan Control. You could say it's Soviet Japan OTK type thing, but I think it's more of a control type deck. We'll take a look at it. It's kind of similar to the US-Italy deck that he ran insofar as there's a lot of ones, a lot of one drops, not one drops, but one card in the deck, a lot of singletons. So we take a look around. When I first saw it, I saw Burst of Fire. It jumped off the page at me first, so I was like, okay, what are we doing? If we have Burst of Fire, is it just an OTK type thing? And I think the answer is ultimately yes. But it's a different approach to it. So usually if you see the US-Japan OTK list, it's going to be the fighter plus bolster plus Burst of Fire, and then they'll ramp. They'll spend their turns ramping and doing things. This deck does not do that. What this deck does is plays kind of a Soviet control, have a lot of guards, and then gets to just really controlling the game and getting to the OTK part at a later stage. But we'll take a look at some of the stuff in here. We've got 3 bloody sickles. The 2 final pushes, it's kind of your pseudo bolster, so to speak. So let's say you have Dragon Slayer or Tony or some of the other fighters. It's going to be the fighter plus final push plus burst. 329th engineer, gain some life. 33rd recon for draw. I think a lot of Soviet decks struggle on draw, but pairing with Japan and using recons to get there is a way. 1 honorable death, 1 air superiority, which great 1-drop removal with the fighters that you have in play. 2 winter warfares, 2 burst of fires, guarding up with Bryansk, protecting the fighters. 1 yak to draw some cards. I-15, it's pretty good. Don't underestimate the card though. So if you get that 2-2 in the support line and it's late game, you can still go the 2-2 fighter plus final push plus burst and hit for 10. So you just have to really understand the game, understand the tempo, what you're trying to control, setting up the plays in advance. It's pretty strong in that regards. Dawn of Operations, air units operate for free. That's pretty cool. 1 hammer, BM-13N, solid artillery. 1 confusion, which is great. You're really not a frontline deck. You're a heavy support line deck. That confusion later on in the game can end it for you. Another scouting party, Dragon Slayer, 1 winter regiment. The Yak 9, again, it's a fighter with blitz, so late game, you can hit for 12, right? Yak 9 plus final push plus burst. 2 by the swords for some card draw. Depths of Winter comboing with winter warfare. 39th rifle, sure. Yak 9, again, fighter, final push, burst. HIEN, final push, burst. Armored train, great patriotic war, great include, especially against decks that are trying to gain life, especially in an OCC where there's a lot of Britain decks going on and they have that, it's kind of a rampish Commonwealth type design, so it's a great way to get that there. KORSUN for more guards, Tony, and an ISU. Of course, ISU paired with winter warfare, if you have no other units on board, can be quite the clearing. If we look at the Kurd, it's heavy on 1, but it's removal on 1, right? And just kind of a suite of control tools. It's not really an aggressive 1 drop slot. It's just a kind of a control archetype, but balanced out. It's pretty neat. I like it. With all of the singletons that you have, sometimes it can be a little difficult to hit consistency, but really it's just draw that game out, set up your final push plus a fighter plus burst and get the job done. So we'll take a look at it. One of the games I played on ladder, I think it was the first. No, it was the second one. The first one I played was to SM to Zem, or Maudi, as you know, and I lost that game. Congrats to him. And then went ahead and this was the second game. Thanks for being here. Stay safe and be well. Sample game on ladder. I don't mind this hand. When I see Japan as headquarters, it's gonna, you can't just assume Jagro. I mean, it's certainly a possibility, but probably a good possibility, but it could also be Jalvage, or there's a lot of different Japan decks that one can be playing. I'm going to assume that it's Jagro, so I'm keeping the double Winter Warfare, mainly because I'm expecting early units from him. But even if I don't have to play Winter Warfare, I've got Scouting Party and then the card draw off the Winter Warfare with the 33rd Recons to come into play. So I don't mind keeping this and just kind of drawing the game through. You can draw a lot of cards off of it. Opponent's taking his time. I think he mulliganed 3. It's 2, or I think it was 3. Pass the turn makes me think that it's Jalvage. A turn, it's usually what you run into. It could just be a Jagro with a bad hand, but I'm choosing to play reactive. All right, so likely Jagro. Scouting Party is the play here. Now we know for sure it's Jagro. So the Winter Warfare keep, the double Winter Warfare is going to be nice. Try to get as much value out of it as possible. Just go ahead and draw another card. Take the front. Draw another card on upkeep. So just getting ahead on card advantage, or trying to. Yep. Preferred target. It's really important just to get that early damage in, because if you're going with a final push burst of fire, like, you don't want them at 20 when you're in the process of doing that. Just controlling the board state right now. I mean, you could argue that he'll have to attack into the fighter, but I also don't want him removing the fighter a different way and just having that bomber back there. All right. But getting that early damage in is important. Let's go ahead and take that. Get some more damage in. Staying ahead on tempo too. But if you can look at it right now, it's the Yak plus final push. No burst yet. Sure. I don't mind. I'm just delaying it. But I have confusion in the hand. So I'm trying to get to the point where just stall some time, get some extra damage in with the fighter, and then we'll use confusion on the regiment. And if I can draw a burst, we can just end it. But with confusion in hand, I certainly don't mind them taking the front line. Sure. Yep. So the line I'm taking here is playing confusion on the regiment. We've got lethal on board, but I'm assuming that one of those is probably going to be gone. So we'll confusion on the regiment and then hit with a fighter. Yep. That's gain. Yep. Confusion on the regiment. Final push on the fighter. And lethal is ours. Thanks for being here. Stay safe and be well.